If you're enjoying this emotional journey about second chances and unexpected love, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more heartfelt stories that remind us life's biggest misunderstandings can lead to our greatest blessings. Now, let's continue with how Mark's life changed forever when those 3 words, "You're fired," turned out to mean something entirely different. The alarm blared at 5:15 a.m., same as every weekday for the past 3 years. Mark Stevens slapped at his phone with the practiced accuracy of a man whose morning routine ran like clockwork. It had to. Between getting himself ready, preparing breakfast, packing lunches, and making sure his 8-year-old daughter Emma was properly dressed with her homework complete, every minute counted. Today was already going sideways. The washing machine had flooded the laundry room last night, leaving Emma's school uniform soaking in a puddle. He'd had to hand wash and blow dry it, stealing precious hours of sleep he couldn't afford to lose. Emma. 5 minutes until breakfast, he called up the stairs while simultaneously buttering toast, checking his work email, and trying to fix his crooked tie in the reflection of the microwave door. His phone buzzed with a text from his boss, Catherine Wells, "Need to discuss your future with the company. My office, 9 a.m. sharp." Mark's stomach tightened. This was the 3rd cryptic message from Catherine this week. Yesterday it had been, "Your performance requires immediate attention." The day before, "We need to address your work-life balance situation." He knew what was coming. 3 years at Horizon Software Development, working his way up from junior developer to team lead, and now it would end because he couldn't keep up. Since Elena died and left him a single father, he'd been perpetually exhausted, occasionally late, and forced to leave early more times than he cared to admit when Emma's school called with one emergency or another. "Daddy, is my lunch ready?" Emma appeared in the kitchen doorway, her school uniform impeccably worn despite its emergency cleaning, her dark curls, so like her mother's, tied back in a neat ponytail that he'd finally mastered after countless YouTube tutorials. "Right here, princess." He handed her the lunchbox decorated with dinosaurs, her current obsession. Ham and cheese, apple slices, and I snuck in one of those chocolate cookies Grandma sent. Emma's face lit up with a smile that made his chest ache. She looked so much like Elena when she smiled. "Are you coming to my science presentation today?" she asked, hope lighting her blue eyes. Mark winced. "That's today? I thought it was Thursday." "Today is Thursday, Dad." Her little shoulders slumped. Mark checked his phone calendar and felt the familiar weight of failure settle on him. "Emma, I'm so sorry. I have an important meeting at work that I can't miss." "It's okay," she said with the practiced resignation of a child who had heard this before. "Ms. Perez said she'll record it for parents who can't come." The guilt hit him like a physical blow. One more milestone missed. One more memory he wouldn't share. But what choice did he have? Catherine's meeting was clearly about his job performance, and if he missed it, he might not have a job at all. Without his job, how would he keep a roof over their heads, pay for Emma's education, the medical bills still lingering from Elena's illness? "I promise I'll watch the video tonight. We'll have popcorn and make it special, okay?" He knelt down, meeting her eyes. She nodded, but the disappointment remained. "Your tie is crooked," she said, reaching up to straighten it with her small hands, another skill she developed in their life as a duo. 30 minutes later, after dropping Emma at school with extra hugs and promises for weekend adventures, Mark sat in traffic mentally rehearsing what he would say to Catherine. She was a formidable boss, brilliant, demanding, and notoriously unsentimental about business decisions. The company had been restructuring, and everyone knew cuts were coming. He'd seen the signs for weeks now. Catherine stopping by his desk more frequently, asking pointed questions about his projects, sending emails after hours that he sometimes didn't see until morning. Yesterday, she'd lingered near his workspace, clearly wanting to say something, before being called away to another meeting. At 8:57 a.m., Mark stood outside her glass-walled office, straightening his tie one last time. Catherine sat behind her desk, her auburn hair pulled back in a severe bun, her expression unreadable as she gestured for him to enter. "Mark, close the door please," she said, her voice carefully neutral. He sat across from her, hands clasped to hide their slight tremor. He needed this job desperately. "I've been trying to find the right time to discuss this with you," Catherine began, shuffling some papers on her desk. "Your situation here has become unsustainable." Mark's throat tightened. "Catherine, if this is about last week when I had to leave for Emma's fever." "It's about a pattern, Mark," she interrupted. "A pattern I can no longer ignore." "I understand. But I promise I can do better. I can stay later to make up the time, work weekends if necessary." Catherine's eyebrows rose slightly. "You're already stretched too thin." "That's precisely the issue." Mark leaned forward. "Please, Catherine. I need this job. Emma and I." "That's what I'm trying to address," she said, her tone softening slightly. "Your performance is suffering because you're trying to be in two places at once. I've been attempting to discuss solutions with you for weeks, but you're always rushing out or buried in deadlines." Mark felt a flicker of hope. Solutions meant she wasn't firing him, yet. "What kind of solutions?" he asked cautiously. Catherine opened a folder. "I've been reviewing your contributions to the team. Your coding quality remains exceptional, and your leadership on the Meridian project saved us when the client changed specifications mid-development." This didn't sound like a termination speech. "But," she continued, "your hours are erratic, you miss team meetings, and you're clearly exhausted most days." The hope began to fade. "I know, and I'm sorry. Since Elena died." "Mark, I'm not asking for an apology," Catherine said firmly. "I'm trying to offer you our new remote work program." He blinked, certain he had misheard. "Remote work?" "Yes. The company is piloting a flexible arrangement for key personnel we can't afford to lose. You'd work primarily from home, coming in only for critical meetings, maybe 2 days a week. You could set your hours around Emma's schedule, as long as the work gets done." Mark stared at her, processing this unexpected turn. "But I thought, the cryptic messages, asking about my future with the company." Catherine sighed, looking momentarily embarrassed. "I've been trying to find time to explain this properly, but we keep missing each other. I thought being somewhat mysterious might ensure you'd make time for this meeting." For the first time in months, Mark felt a weight lifting. "So I'm not being fired?" "Fired?" Catherine laughed. "Mark, I'm trying to promote you. The remote position comes with team leadership for the new healthcare division project. It means a 12% salary increase and better benefits." The relief was so intense that Mark had to grip the arms of his chair. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Catherine replied. "The company needs your talent, and from what I can see, you need a more sustainable work arrangement." Mark left Catherine's office with a new contract in hand, his mind racing with possibilities. He could be home when Emma returned from school. He could attend her science presentations and soccer games. He could finally stop feeling torn in half every single day. On impulse, he drove straight to Emma's school. The secretary looked surprised when he requested to sign her out early. "Family celebration," he explained, unable to contain his smile. When Emma appeared in the school office, her confusion quickly turned to delight. "Are we playing hooky, Dad?" she whispered as they walked to the car. "Something like that," he answered, his heart lighter than it had been in years. "How does ice cream for lunch sound?" As they sat in the park with their cones, Mark explained his new work arrangement in terms an 8-year-old could understand. Daddy would be home more, work in his pajamas sometimes, and never miss another science presentation. Emma licked her chocolate ice cream thoughtfully. "Does this mean I can have a dog now? You always said we couldn't because no one would be home to take care of it." Mark laughed. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves. One major life change at a time." That night, as he tucked Emma into bed, she hugged him tightly. "I'm glad your boss didn't fire you, Daddy." "Me too, Princess. Now get some sleep." 3 weeks into his new arrangement, Mark had established a routine that finally felt sustainable. He took Emma to school each morning, worked productively in his home office, and was there when she returned. His team was thriving under the clearer communication protocols he'd established for remote work, and his latest project was ahead of schedule. But not everything was perfect. His house, which had always been just a place to sleep between work shifts, now revealed itself as a depressing monument to neglect. The beige walls hadn't been painted since before Emma was born. The furniture was mismatched and worn. Elena's touches, the family photos, the colorful throws, the carefully arranged bookshelves, had gradually disappeared as items broke or became too painful to see daily. One Tuesday morning, after Emma left for school, Mark was deep in code when an unexpected knock interrupted his concentration. He opened the front door to find Catherine standing on his porch, dressed in a crisp pantsuit despite the casual attire she'd adopted at the office. "Catherine. Is something wrong?" he asked, suddenly conscious of his unshaven face and the faded university t-shirt he was wearing. "That depends," she replied, peering past him into the living room visible from the doorway. "I was in the neighborhood for a client meeting and thought I'd check how the remote arrangement is working. May I come in?" Mark hesitated, embarrassed by the state of his home, but stepped aside. "Of course. Sorry about the mess." Catherine walked in, her eyes taking in the stack of unwashed dishes in the kitchen sink, the pile of laundry on the couch waiting to be folded, and the general air of a home that had been merely survived in, not lived in. "How's the project coming along?" she asked, carefully navigating around a tower of Emma's books on the floor. "Actually, we're ahead of schedule. The team's adapting well to the new workflow." Catherine nodded, but her focus seemed more on his living conditions than his work update. She picked up a framed photo from the mantel, Mark, Elena, and a toddler Emma at the beach, all smiling in the sunlight. "Your wife was beautiful," she said quietly. "Yes, she was," Mark agreed, the familiar ache returning. "That was about 6 months before her diagnosis." Catherine set the photo down gently. "Mark, I have to be honest. I'm concerned." His stomach dropped. "About my work? I can send you the latest progress report." "Not about your work," she interrupted. "About this." She gestured to the space around them. "You're living in a house, but it's not a home. When was the last time you did something to make this place feel alive again?" The question caught him off guard. "I don't. We manage. Emma and I get by." Catherine's expression softened. "Getting by isn't the same as living, Mark. I lost my husband 5 years ago. Car accident. Instantaneous." She said it matter-of-factly, but Mark saw the shadow that crossed her face. "I know what it's like to just survive each day." This was a side of Catherine he'd never seen in 3 years of working for her. The composed, sometimes intimidating executive was sharing something deeply personal, standing in his cluttered living room on a Tuesday morning. "I didn't know," he said simply. "It's not something I discuss at work," she replied. "But when I recommended you for this remote position, it wasn't just because you're a valuable employee. It was because I recognized someone who needed to reclaim their life." Mark sank onto the arm of the couch. "I'm not sure I know how anymore. It's been 3 years of just keeping the ship from sinking." Catherine nodded. "The ship's still floating, Mark. But is it going anywhere? Your daughter deserves more than survival mode. So do you." Her words struck him with unexpected force. When had he stopped trying to build a life and settled for merely maintaining one? Catherine moved toward the door. "I didn't come here to lecture you. Your work is excellent, and that's what matters professionally. But..." She paused, her hand on the doorknob. "Maybe it's time to paint these walls a color that doesn't scream default landlord beige." After she left, Mark stood in the middle of his living room, seeing it through new eyes. The place was functional but joyless. Emma deserved better. Maybe he did too. That weekend, Mark took Emma to a home improvement store. They wandered the paint section, Emma marveling at the rainbow of color cards. "Can I pick my room color?" she asked, eyes wide. "Absolutely. And let's pick something for the living room too." Emma selected a vibrant teal for her bedroom. For the living room, they chose a warm golden yellow that reminded Mark of the sunlight in that beach photo with Elena. They spent Saturday prepping and Sunday painting, ending up with more paint on themselves than seemed possible. Emma giggled when Mark got a yellow streak in his hair, and he retaliated by dabbing her nose with teal. It was the first time in months he'd heard her laugh so freely, so completely. It hit him then, Catherine was right. They had been surviving, not living. Over the next few weeks, Mark found himself noticing other aspects of their life that had fallen into neglect. The yard was overgrown. The kitchen still had the basic pots and pans from his bachelor days. Emma's clothes were practical but lacked the fun elements other girls her age wore. Bit by bit, they began transforming their house. They planted flowers in the front yard. They bought colorful new dishes. They hung Emma's artwork in frames. Each small change seemed to bring more life back into their home. At work, Mark's team continued to thrive under his leadership. The healthcare project was garnering attention from upper management as a potential flagship for the company's expansion. Catherine checked in regularly but professionally, never mentioning their personal conversation again. One evening, as Mark was reviewing code while Emma did homework at the kitchen table, his phone rang with Catherine's number. "Mark, I need a favor," she said without preamble. "The client presentation tomorrow, Johnson's team has the stomach flu, all of them, somehow. I need you to present in person." Mark glanced at Emma. "Tomorrow is career day at Emma's school." "I know. You mentioned it in the team meeting last week." Catherine paused. "Bring her with you." "To the client meeting?" "No, to the office afterward. Let her see what her dad does. We can make it educational. Then you can both attend the company picnic in the park across from our building. We've had it planned for months, food trucks, games for kids, team building for adults. Emma might enjoy it." Mark was surprised by the suggestion. "Are you sure? It's not exactly standard procedure."